Sam's personal struggles just at his home life and dealing with the Shield was the thing I was most excited to be to write. It just felt supremely relevant to the times where you have this black man who is dealing with the stars and stripes, and his reaction to it is appropriate for a black man, which is to push it away and have ambivalence, because that symbol without Steve does not mean the same thing to Sam, right? That symbol without Steve means oppression and adversity. And when you meet Sam at home, his roots are so deep in a black experience. He comes from a long line of black fishermen, which there's been documentaries about them and how they were treated by the banks and how society treated them. So he has an entire identity that dictates a reaction that we would have been dishonest if he had just said, "Oh yeah, great, I'm gonna be Cap," and not challenged it. I also think the personal story to me was exciting because it was so rooted in culture that it gives Sam a flavor that I feel like really makes him relatable to regular people. Like, you get to see him doing cooking and doing the kinds of things that real people do, and you get to see him feel uncomfortable when the police come, and we don't go crazy with it in that moment. You get to see him experience the world as a black man from the South. We like to say this series began and each of the characters knocked on the door, we let them in, they walked in with their bags and put them down, right? When Bucky knocked on the door, there was a truck full of baggage. And that baggage has accumulated in all these Marvel movies and with all this Marvel mythology of a man who's been manipulated. He's 106 years old. And because he's been manipulated, he doesn't belong to any given era, least of all this era. He's killed so many people. And the fact that he remembers every one of the murders makes him believe a part of himself was the Winter Soldier. And so you take all of that and the fact that he doesn't have any family left, and the only person who ever truly accepted him for who he was, Steve, is gone. And we were like, it's such an immense thing for this kid, for this guy to tackle, that we needed to come up with a storyline that was all of that baggage concentrated into one character, that if Bucky could not find a way to make amends with him, he's going to fail as a human being. And if Bucky can find a way to be brave enough to confront this, even if the person does not accept it, he has a shot at being reborn as a human being who's not a monster and not what all that baggage says he is. There's a moment everybody who's a Marvel fan remembers in Civil War, when the two of them are in the car. Can you move the seat forward? No, I hate. And in 12 seconds, everybody knew, from Kevin Feige to fans all around the world, that these two had something special. And it's crazy to think that in 12 seconds, what these two men were able to do was so electric that everybody who worked on this project knew exactly what the tone had to be, because it's just something that's sort of it's transcendent what those two guys have together, and it dictated everything moving forward. And the buddy cop, I think one of the great things about the history of sort of buddy two-handers is that buddy two-handers have a long legacy of tackling issues of the moment and doing it in a way that's still fun for the audience while being honest and not shying away from very, very relevant and sometimes hard-hitting topics. But it's always digestible because it has this, sort of electric back and forth fire and ice dynamic.